Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Tim.
Hello, everyone.
Today, we're going to be talking about some stuff that I'm personally dealing with when it comes to just, oh, God, that's terrifying.
It's this thing.
Okay, I was going to say, all of a sudden I see the screen and we look like we're ghosts moving around and twitching. Anyways, today we're talking about my retail experiences and one particular challenge that I've faced for the past decade of time, which is dealing properly with customers that are angry about me upholding the policies.
Oh, it's so tough. I think everybody deals with that.
Yeah, but it's been something that I've been dealing with for 10 years, and I still feel like I have room to grow. So let's jump into it. Well, whoops, wrong button. Welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon, this is Tim, and today is Get Naked Monday, where we metaphorically get naked and talk about things going on in our own lives and how we're handling them. Careful, it might be hot.
Patience.
Today, the whole topic is going to be about my experience in retail and the struggles I have when dealing with customers that I have to say no to.
Man, just reading that book by, was it Cloud and Townsend about boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
There was a story in there where it talked about how learning no is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself.
Yeah, and honestly, it's for a lot of different things, it's not hard for me to say no to. But in the area specifically of people trying to return their stuff, that's really hard. And I've been kind of processing that today. Like, I had a customer that came in today, and they wanted to return a pair. Well, actually, they wanted to exchange a pair of shoes that they had gotten.
Okay, so, for context, describe this person. What were they like? Thruway Shopping Center granola white, or
Thruway? First of all, I work in Thruway, so they could be nothing more. I mean, I guess they could be more than just granola white, but they are. She definitely was white.
Okay, so it was a woman. How old was she?
I don't know. She was probably somewhere between late 50s and early 60s, I would suggest.
So white woman, older, comes in.
Mm-hmm. And
she's got something that she wants to return.
She's got a pair of shoes that's got a hole in them. And it's in a random location. Like, it's definitely not by the toes, so it's not like a matter of like her toes reaching up and...
So these are old shoes that she's worn in a while?
Not old. These are shoes that she bought out, like it's beyond the 45-day period that we have in order to return shoes. And at least our store, New Balance, you have 45 days to return or exchange your pair of shoes, regardless if they've been worn or not, which is kind of cool. The first place I've worked at where you have that sort of loose boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it was outside that range. She said she got the shoes in February. When we pulled up the receipt, it said she got her shoes in the beginning of January.
Okay.
So it was definitely...
Well, I mean, that could be a bona fide mistake.
Sure. I didn't really necessarily believe that she was intentionally lying. I figured she probably messed up the dates because she had bought stuff after that point and maybe was kind of merged them together in her head.
So describe how she came in. Did she come in with a haughty attitude, or is she just like...
Well, no, she didn't come in high and mighty. No, she came in with her shoes and... like on her feet still.
So she was wearing them.
She was wearing them into the store. Yes, she didn't have any backup shoes or anything. She's just wearing the shoes into the store, and sat down. And she showed me her shoe on her foot, and she was like, "I've sprung a leak." Is how she described the situation. And I thought, okay, that's kind of funny and cute. Cool. Well, let's see if I can help. Only to find out that this is something that was happening outside the 45-day range.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a tone of, I expect you to fix this, regardless of error.
Can you replicate this tone, Brandon?
I don't know if I can replicate this tone.
So I'll be you, and you can be her.
Oh,
hi, welcome to, where do you work again? Fleet Feet? No.
New Balance.
Hi, welcome to New Balance. I'm a Christian. Do you like Jesus?
Yeah, that's exactly how I greet people. No, that's not how I greet people.
So, well, at New Balance, do they have that thing where you're supposed to accost every customer that comes in the door?
Accost?
Go up to them and say, hey, here are deals. Here's what are you looking for?
No, not that aggressive.
No.
You do greet them, and you do ask them how you can help them. But then depending on, you still wait for their permission. If they like just looking, then you let them look.
Mm-hmm.
You don't try to sell them anything else. You just let them know where things exist in the store and what you're capable of, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're done. And I appreciate that there's not a lot of pressure involved, at least for me as the salesman.
Yeah.
So, I greeted her, asked her how I could help her. She wanted to take care of these shoes, and she had an attitude because, she felt like it was too soon for the shoes to have a hole in them. Which
you saw the hole.
Right.
I'm sorry, everyone. One moment. So you saw it. Did it seem like she stepped on something, or that it was just through wear and tear, or what?
Well, it wasn't obvious without the story that began to unfold, but and even with the story that began to unfold, it wasn't entirely obvious. But I discovered that I think she works in some sort of medical field.
Mm-hmm.
So I assumed, because it wasn't at her toes, so it wasn't likely that her toes, ate a hole through the shoe, that maybe something hit the shoe and ripped it up. And maybe
So was it in the sole?
No, it was at the top part, the mesh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like she dropped something on.
So these are the end of your toes. It was kind of like here.
Okay.
Where the hole was. So anyways, so she's expecting me to do stuff about it, but it's outside the 45-day, and it's kind of clear that she might be somewhat responsible for this, and especially because of her attitude of, I expect you to fix this kind of thing, and if you don't, I will be upset.
Yeah, well, I remember because I used to work at GameStop. We would sell warranties on things, obviously, because freaking GameStop, people breaking their controllers and whatnot. I had an employee one time. We started selling warranties on controllers. So accidental damage, $10, we replace it, whatever. And one of my employees positioned it as, you could spike it like a football, and just as long as you bring it back all the pieces, we'll buy you another one. As long as you buy another warranty. And I was like, I mean, he's not completely wrong, but we don't want to, develop that, customer base ethos, however you pronounce that word.
Ethics.
Of
punting your controller so you get a new one.
Yeah, but, other stores would position that same type of warranty on the game systems. And I remember there was this one time this couple came in and they had a PlayStation 4 and it was infested with roaches. And they said, my PlayStation doesn't work anymore. I've got a warranty. I want you to replace this. And I was thinking to myself, well, so the person who sold it to them, they bought it at a different location. The person who sold it to them said, if your system stops working and you have it in its entirety, we will buy you another system if you purchase our warranty. So it was representation from another GameStop location that now I was having to deal with. So what do you do with that?
Right.
They weren't happy when I told them no.
Right, and that's the thing. That's what makes it difficult for me, because there's always some sort of nuance that they will come in that is like, I don't know what to say to this situation. It's not so cut and clear whether I should say yes or no to this situation.
Yeah.
And so, she's trying to return this pair of shoes. In all technicality, we have in the past taken in shoes that are beyond the 45 days and exchanged them for the customer because it was defective or whatever. We figured we wanted to maintain the relationship with the customer, and they've been kind enough to us. It was like, sure, fine, we'll help you out with this. But in this situation, she wasn't that very kind. She was a little bit testy, and so it made it hard. That's not the problem, though. Honestly, I have encountered plenty of angry and or testy customers over the decade plus time I've been in retail, period. I just have. And I think the worst degree I dealt with was a customer wanting to return a pair of shoes where the heel of her shoes, she had bought a clog and I was working at the walking company, was shattered. That doesn't just happen. I'm sorry. That's a clog. Clogs are practically bricks. You cannot just shatter a clog and make its heel all as fractured as was and then say, this is defective. No, you are trying to, like, dance on shards or something. Like, there's no way.
Well, so what bothers you more? Just the issue that they're trying to do this or just their attitude around it?
So it's not their attitude, because I just know that's a part of the job. You know, it shouldn't be a part of the job. In a perfect world, it would not be a part of the job. We don't live in a perfect world. So it's just a part of the job. So it wasn't the attitude, and it wasn't the request, because the request wasn't that big of a deal. It was the fact that I was more so upset with myself. In that moment, in that moment, I felt weak. Like, I felt like if she applied any more pressure, I would crumble, and I didn't want to deal with it. And I wanted to run away, and I wanted to hide.
So typically when things have pressure, they're being pushed from two sides. So you had the customer pushing on you. What was on the other side?
I mean, the other side is just I want to make sure that I uphold and maintain the expectations of New Balance. You know, so there's that pressure, because that side is just like, you know, like, it's not that New Balance has ever been, or my manager, who, you know, primarily represents New Balance to me, has ever been that pressurous to me, ever. But that's why I want to talk about this, because I recognize that part of the other side is my past, not so much my present. And I'm trying to live in the present with prior expectations put on me from the past that may or may not actually have been applicable even at that time, but that's just the ramifications that I had to deal with then. So, and I began to realize this because as I was dealing with this difficult customer, I went to my manager to talk about it and to work things out with her. And she came out and she helped me, you know, figure out exactly what's going on and what we can do about it. And in the end, we decided to exchange her shoe for another one. Fine. And so what I realized is that very early on in my retail experience, talking my second job, I was hired.
Sears?
No, that was right before Sears. I was working at Brookstone.
What was your first job?
GameStop.
Hey, full circle.
My first retail job, that is. Not my first job, a retail job. So yeah, I started off as temporary in GameStop in 2010 and in like October 2010.
And where were you, in Florida?
No, I was in North Carolina.
I didn't know you back then, did I?
You did not know me. You did not know me until like November
2013.
13.
So which GameStop was it? We talk about this all the time, and I always forget.
Which one that I worked at?
Yeah.
It was the same one that Brandon...
Brewster?
No.
Breedlove?
Yes.
So Peters Creek Parkway.
Peters Creek Parkway one. The one you were managing for a time.
Interesting. Where was I in 2010? I would have been in Lexington, I think. That's so interesting. We worked for the same company, Brandon.
We worked for the same company and in the same store.
Yeah.
But in two different times. It was so convenient working at that GameStop. You had like a Burger King and a Subway just right there within.
Oh, but you get so sick of it.
I mean,
that's the thing about working. I guess working anywhere, you know, you eat at unless you bring your food, or unless they cater it. That's it.
I didn't work there long enough to get sick of it. Either places.
I mean, you worked part-time at GameStop. You got like 2 hours per season. That's how it works.
Not far off. Not far off. It was.
Hey, hire 20 people. Well, here's 5 hours for all of Christmas.
Why
that
GameStop?
Sucks so much.
Why not just have a small group of very trained people than a large group of untrained people?
See, that's the issue with, I guess that's mid-level management, because you're between like people who understand how the business runs on the ground floor, and the people who want the business run a certain way. You're like right in between. So you can see both sides, and it sucks on both sides.
So my first experience was GameStop. My second experience was a full or nearly full-time job. Like the hours were close at Brookstone as a secondary assistant manager was my official title, but it was essentially a third key position. So I didn't have any true, real managerial powers. But I still opened and closed the store. I still counted the registers, did paperwork, and processed returns. So I did that.
Well, going with Brookstone, how did they position the return stuff? And did you ever deal with this with them too?
Well, it was a
At that store?
standard. I think it was a standard 30-day return policy, and if it would have been probably obviously used, it could be returned. I don't remember. It's been a decade since I worked, or almost a decade. It will be a decade next year since the last day that I worked at Brookstone. Wow, that's wow. So yeah, fun. But I don't remember what the return policy was. Just that it probably was standard. Anyways, regardless, that's not important. What is important is that it was at that job that I met now my current work mother. And she's wonderful. I really love her.
I saw what you were saying before the stream.
Vicky,
if you're watching this, he was talking mad junk about you.
I was not. I was not. Don't lie. Anyways, there's always, with every person, there's always good and bad. The good thing is that she has always been, and I didn't expect for you to put her name out there for all the internet to know. Thank you, Tim.
Talking about Barbara?
Barbara? Anyways. The upside of working with her was that she was always dedicated to any job that she did 110% without question. Put in the most hours, did the most work. You could always rely on her. And she was upfront and honest about everything. That was a great thing. That is why I consider her to this day to be my work mother. The downside was that her return policy was ever fluid, it felt like. Whether it was or wasn't, for me, it was, because this was my first real big retail experience, and I could not nail down what the return policy was, because we had the set one that the company set, but then we had her written in pencil return policy, where sometimes she would return things that were beyond the 30-day period, and other times she wouldn't.
Would that bother you?
And it did.
Yeah, why?
Because I felt like I was trying to build a foundation on sand, and so I just kept crumbling, and to the point where I had taken 2 returns without receipt. And the second time that I did that, I got demoted. And I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think Brookstone would have demoted me. I feel like it was her care for me and concern not performing to the standard that she thought was necessary, and then them getting things from her perspective that landed me demoted. I think, because I've talked about this same scenario with other people, and they're like, what do you mean that's not a big deal at all? So I've heard a spread of responses to my actions.
Well, I think it just depends on what it is, because I remember with GameStop, and if you guys have ever shopped at GameStop, you know what I mean. You buy a new game, and you don't like it, you try to return it. What does GameStop say? No, it's been opened. You can't, because technically we couldn't resell a new game that's been opened as a new game. And the margin difference is huge. So, for instance, if we would sell a copy of Call of Duty brand new, it cost us $60 to get it, or $55 to get it in the store. We sell it for $60. We make a $5 profit.
Wow.
So if we return it and we have to sell it used, the way the profit margins work, I think we paid like $25 for $30 for a newer game, like an A-list title. So there'd be a $30 profit there. And so we would have to return it as new. We would lose that $55, but then we'd have to sell it for the used price. So we would actually lose like $5 to $10 per situation like that. And then game systems were even worse because they had a serial number. Like the hit on the margin was really different, but people would get so livid. They'd buy a brand new game system and try to return it. I'm like, sorry, bro. This. And then they would, every single time, they would flip over the receipt and just like start reading it in front of me as though like I'm going to prove you wrong here, which I get. But I would say, unopened new items. And I would say, well, I can buy it from you for how much? And obviously people wouldn't like that either. Or I'd recommend other things. Well, this does suck and here's what the policy is, but here are a few avenues. And if you make a purchase like this in the future, come talk to me first and I can make sure you know everything you need to know and you're prepared to make the purchase.
Yeah.
And that building that relationship was kind of cool, but man, it really sucked, especially when people wouldn't give me the opportunity to talk to them in that way. and they would just, give me a couple of these. They were.
I got some in my pocket for you.
I actually had a guy do that one time. I was like, "Do you have your receipt?" And he was like, just going through his thing, and he pulled out of his pocket, and he was like, I was like, "I'm not even mad," That was clever.
That's hilarious.
But I think for me, just navigating that whole scene, it was different because I would see my boss, and Eric. Eric Grayler was amazing. One of the best managers I've ever had. He had a temper, but everybody's got their downsides,
Right.
But it seems like his return policy was very, it was quite static with most things. But if we had a really good customer where there was a relationship present, he would bend it a little bit. He'd be like, and I remember this so clearly. He'd be like, the whole controller thing. Look, man, you broke this controller. You have a warranty. It technically doesn't cover that, but I'll make a deal with you. I'll return this. We'll get you another controller. I just need you to buy another warranty on the next one. Most people would be happy to meet me in the middle, but it's like, if you do that at Christmas and there are 50 people in line with a similar issue, they're going to want that same deal, and that's tough. It's tough. It's like, but I guess that kind of goes back to like whole intimacy and commitment thing. It's like they've committed to us and they always shop with us, and we've gone back. We have history, and so you get this intimacy. Like you can have that too, other customer, if you want to. But people don't want to hear that when they feel like they're getting taken advantage of.
Yeah. So there's probably another profit margin type deal thing with that at Brookstone that I was never really taught. I don't think I ever really knew the profit margin in Brookstone. And it probably had to be that similar because if you think about Brookstone sells things that people generally don't need.
Yeah.
Like they don't need it. It's a luxury item that you get to have to enhance your life, with the exception of maybe some of the massage products they have, because people do have sore backs, arms, legs, all that kind of stuff.
When we had Brookstone and Haynes Mall, I loved going in there, but it always made me so anxious.
Why did it make you anxious?
Well, you know how I am. I like, whenever I go somewhere, I like exploring things and looking at all the cool stuff and then rationalizing, can I see this in my life? There was so much stuff there where it's like, I need this. Like just looking at the concept of it would definitely add some kind of value to my life. But then I was thinking, they want $50 for this little claw thing that you put on your head. Like, this would be really cool, but do I just not make enough money? Like, does everybody, like, you would see people with a Brookstone bag walking out of there, and they always had like their tucked in shirts and their sweater vests and, white granola.
Right. White granola. What even is that from?
I don't know. But yeah, I would always think, oh man, because I can't afford this stuff. I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but because I can't afford this stuff, this is $50. The ads show all these people enjoying it. There are all these other people that are able to buy it and enjoy it, I guess, with discretionary income. Why don't I have all this discretionary income? Obviously, because I was poor with handling my money, and I didn't make a lot of money to begin with. But that didn't register. I wanted all this. So going in there, just being overwhelmed with all the opportunities and feeling like, I must be deficient in some major way that I can't afford. I don't know. It just made me anxious.
Well, most of the stuff I just was like, I don't need any of these things, but they're kind of cool. I don't know, but I enjoyed it because I got to like play with everything that was there, so I knew how it worked.
What?
I knew your smile. I knew how it worked. I knew what its function was, all that kind of stuff, which was cool. Didn't really have that opportunity at GameStop. Mm-hmm. I could take out games to try them.
That was so cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was cool. But I didn't have the interest to try all those different things, nor the time. So after dealing with that, never quite sure what the line is in returns here, it's just scarred me. Like not not like some kind of like my personality's been forever sniped because of this experience. But it has been enough that it's like now when I go to take care of a return or potential return and the customer is upset, I feel like I lock up on the inside because I'm like, if I tell them no, they're going to be upset. And then if they get upset, they're going to get the management involved. And if the management gets involved, then the management might go around and do the very thing I said I couldn't do.
That's so frustrating. Like your management tells you, hey, this is the standard. You absolutely do not do returns. I remember there was this one time, my boss at GameStop, there was this promotion that was misprinted in the catalog. And he said, do not by any means give this deal to people. And there was people that came in and they were like, yeah, I want this. They were getting kind of upset. My boss was visiting my store that day, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, we have it posted on the door. There's an error in our ad. We actually cannot do this. And they were making a scene in our store, and I was telling them, here's what I can do for you, because you never want to tell a customer I can't do something for you. You always want to deflect and say, well, here's what I can do, and lead them through that. And that works 90% of the time, but it did not work with this person in particular. And my boss comes over and he introduces himself. Hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm this position. What's going on? And the lady said, well, this was posted this way. And this guy's not giving me what you guys as a company promoted the price for this item to be. And he said, well, no problem. We'll take care of you. I'm like, excuse me? We just had a conference call where you told me absolutely by no means do you do this. I upheld that because I don't want to get written up for doing this again, which I had been written up for doing. And not only are you just kind of throwing me under the bus, but all these other customers and my staff are watching this happen. So I've lost clout with everybody. Mm-hmm. Now what do? I guess I'll hide in the back room and you can run my store. I was so frustrated.
See, for me, I never really had the opportunity to feel frustrated with my work mother's decisions. I just felt anxious because she would get upset and angry with me when I would do something that she wouldn't do or whatever. And so that would fluster me and I'd be like, ah. And to be fair, in 2011 to 2013, when I was working that job, I didn't have the level of confidence that I have today. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there was probably a lot more of discrepancy in that story there that I'm forgetting now because I've grown since then. Yeah. But it didn't help. It didn't help that she would get upset when I would hold to the standard and then the customer would get upset and they go to her. And then she's upset because they're upset with her and she has to deal with it and she comes back to me, she's upset with me. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay, and then I start to flex them and then that's a problem. And I'm just like, I can't win.
Did you ever have that thing where you and your store leader, store manager, whatever the title is, made a stance and made a call on something, they call corporate. And then you get a phone call from corporate telling you to do the very thing that you're not supposed to. Have you ever had that?
No. I don't think I have. Maybe I have had some conversations with district managers. Yes, mm-hmm. But not corporate.
Yeah, it sucks so much because it feels like you're being taken advantage of and you're being manipulated when you feel like you're trying your best to do the right thing. Makes me so angry.
Yeah. So that was my starting experience, and it haunted me all the way up until I became the manager. A few jobs later at the walking company. And when I came to the position of assistant manager at the walking company, and I am the manager, and I don't have to deal with another manager coming down on me when I make a decision on a return policy, mm-hmm. A lot easier to stand up to that angry customer and say, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to take this back. I'm not so concerned about being demoted by that point. Mm-hmm. I am the manager. And to the point where I actually stood up to one angry customer and told him, don't get testy with me, which was probably not the best thing I could have done.
You're angry. Let me respond in an angry way to you to de-escalate you.
I mean, it's not okay. You are treating me mm-hmm. in a way that I do not deserve.
And that's hard too, because you want to maintain professionalism, but you don't want to get walked over.
That is the hardest thing in working retail. It is the constant balance you will probably never get away from of, they're treating you in a way that they should never treat you in, mm-hmm. but you also can't necessarily fully speak what's on your mind either. You're just stuck in this in-between, and I feel emotionally constipated because I can't tell you, shut up. Stop talking to me like this. Leave me alone. Never come back to my store. I don't like you.
So I had this customer one time. They come in and it's early morning, and I'm not. If you know me, I'm not a morning person. Like forget about it. Anyways, I had a rough night the night before. I'm at work, and these people come in. It's this couple that I've known for a while, and they're just like, I didn't like them. They're just return customers, just kind of people you want to get through. Those customers.
Yeah, I know those customers.
And he's doing something, returning something complicated, and I make a mistake. He just, can you hurry up? That type of thing. And I'm
God.
like, sorry. I'm trying to calculate this properly because there were coupons, and I just want to make sure you don't lose your coupon, whatever. And I make another mistake. Something happens, and then my printer jams.
Oh, God.
And he's getting more and more testing. He's like, "You're making a lot of mistakes, man. What are you doing?" And just like being very aggressive, just like scrutinizing every little thing that I'm doing. And then it got to a point where he's just like, I can't take this. I can't do this. And so I canceled the transaction. I put everything in a bag, and I was like, "We have a store in Haynes Mall. They could probably help you there. I can't help you anymore today." And he's like, ooh, but I was the store leader, and it's like this guy was being kind of mean, and I don't want to set the standard that that's okay. And I don't know. I think there's some finesse and some posture that you have to have, some composure when dealing with stuff like that. But I think establishing a precedent with people is really important.
By the time I got to when I got to the walking company, I began to test the waters to see what I could get away with in terms of speaking more frankly with customers. Especially because I worked with my work mother in Brookstone, and then I worked for her through 2 quarters of the way at the walking company, and then another manager came in after her. And with the other manager, I was less concerned about, what's going to happen. Will I be suddenly demoted or fired or something of that nature due to an infraction of some sort? And unironically, as my confidence began to go through the roof, a lot of those issues just started to disappear entirely that I had that was an issue when she was my manager. So I like to think of her as like the furnace of character for me, because while it was very difficult working under her, it definitely brought the best, like some really good work ethic from working with her. Either way, when she left, I began to experiment in what I could get away with, because my other manager wasn't going to care as much. So we were more lateral. So, I just got away with a lot more stuff. And it was kind of cool to kind of test the waters and see what a customer would
That's fun,
handle.
isn't it?
It is.
It's fun, but you also have to be responsible for when you make a mistake. Austin just said a customer is not always right unless you want customers to run your business.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, and I think, coming at it from the place of having run stores, I think one of the more important things is to teach your employees how to navigate that space between professionalism and assertion, if those are the right terms I want to use. Because I don't want them to get run over, but I also want them to feel like they have the empowered decision-making process to come to conclusions. I remember Eric always, he really challenged me in a bunch of ways, because we think so differently, and sometimes I would make a decision. Like there was a time where we were kind of busy during the holidays, and it was me and him working. I was out on the floor, and I was talking to this family for a good 45 minutes, and he's just boom, boop, boop, running through customers on the line. I come back, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm so busy. And I go to the back room, and I come out with, I think it was like an Xbox 360 or Xbox. I forget what it was. It was an Xbox One back then when they had first come out. Destiny had just released. Xbox One with 12 months of Xbox Live, 2 controllers, charge packs, 2 $300 headsets, and then like 5 games to the family. And he was like, "Okay, I'm going to shut up." Because he was like, you're doing exactly what I told you. But I had to approach that from a place of, well, here's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I believe it to be the better thought process. And when he saw that I was trying to take a stand as far as being confident in my decision making, he was like, "Okay, well, I get where you're coming from, but something you also need to see is when you spend 45 minutes with that customer, there are 20 other customers that get 1-minute exchanges."
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to, and that's a perspective that I didn't have. But, he did acknowledge, oh, Tim's doing his best to make decisions based on what I've taught him. And if he's taught me the wrong way, then, take the time to help me refine that process.
That's an area that I'm trying to get back to, of making sure that each customer gets a better distributed amount of my time than one customer getting all the time. Because when I started to work at New Balance, the culture is different. Like, I went from there are 4 people total running the entire store, period, to now we have about double that, roughly, and we can give each customer more time without having to multitask and give each customer, equal amounts of time. So I'm trying to get back to that, because the season that my store is now stepping back into requires that I step up and I help this customer for a certain amount of time and that customer simultaneously for a certain amount of time, rather than just only focusing on one. But it literally was hammered out of me coming into New Balance, and now I'm trying to hammer it back into me again. And it sucks, because I prefer to sit down with one customer and help them until every problem that they need to be dealt with is dealt with. That's what I want to have happen.
So what do you do, Brandon, when you and your leadership, and I guess this is for you guys too, in whatever endeavor you're in, whether it's like work or like whatever relationship, the person that's calling the shots in the situation, what if you just disagree with them completely on principle? Do you just change jobs? Do you get a different relationship? Do you, when you're on your own, do you try your way and it's like, hey, my way worked better than your way, so, whatever. Like, what do you do?
I mean, it's very circumstantial. Like, there are too many nuances to give you a definite answer on what to do with that. If it's something that, like, I don't think this is the right idea or whatever, but it's not consequential to, like it's not amoral, and it's not damaging to the company, I will try to fit myself into what they suggest I should fit myself into while they're there. While they're not there, not so much. And I will also try to work it out with them and see if we can find a balance too. If it's a situation, however, where they're trying to make me do something that I think is amoral or just not realistic whatsoever, I'll try to talk with them. Because fortunately, and I say this, fortunately, every person that has managed me throughout the years of working retail have been decently reasonable. I have not encountered a boss that is just garbage that I can remember, at least. No. So I've had decent managers throughout my decade of working retail. I know that's not the case for everyone. So in my case, I'd like to try to work it out with them first. And then if I can't, and it's truly amoral and truly detrimental, I'm not going to stay there for very long. I cannot. I have to believe, if in retail, I have to believe in my product. If I can't believe in my product, I am not going to sell that product well. And so I will find some other place that has a better policy and works better. But I'm going to definitely, before I do that, talk about it with people that I trust to see, am I looking at this properly? Talk about with God, what is his perspective on it? Because if people are like, Brandon, that's just you, or God's like, Brandon, I know that's wrong, but I've called you here for a reason to be a light in a dark place. Okay, that trumps what I'm going to do originally. And so I'm going to do that first. But then after doing that, if you guys are like, Brandon, that's not right, and God's saying, Brandon, I'm not holding you here, then I'm like, I don't want to continue to destroy my soul by being in a business that is making me go against my morals or do things that are just not helpful to the company, and that is truly, you could visibly see this is detrimental. Like, for instance, there was a period of time my roommate Eric was working at Cracker Barrel, and all of a sudden, they randomly decided that they were going to have like a criteria of how many alcohols you should sell to a customer.
Yeah, I remember him talking about this.
I would not support that whatsoever. I don't mind selling alcohol to people. I do mind having you have to sell this many or else.
So was it a mandate, you have to sell this or else, or was it, hey, we want you to position this at least 3 times throughout the dinner?
The way he described it is he had like a criteria of how many alcohols he had to sell with food.
Well, I mean, we kind of did that with GameStop too. Kinda, like it depended on the manager. Like, you have to get 5 reservations and 3 subscriptions. But then you'd have some where it's like, okay, I don't want you to get 5 reservations. I want you to have 10 conversations about reservations. Actually work that in instead of expecting the result. And I think that's a little different. That's one thing I hated about the corporate side of things. They just demanded results, which I get, especially if you're publicly traded. But that's just such a weird dynamic to introduce to your sales staff or whoever, your service staff and your customers. It's like, we demand a result if you're going to be in here. It's like, I don't want to come in there then.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Austin, I can't see what he said.
We can see it over here somewhat.
Can you read that, Brent? I'll have my spectacles on.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna. I can't even take this microphone with me. You're gonna have to not hear me for a second.
Here, I'll just pull it up here.
He says, I think it's about learning your customers and finding the line between what makes the most sense for the business and the customer, learning how to speak to customer to control the sale.
And he said also understanding and accepting the nature of the business and retail. It's important. Yeah. I think that's also a weird thing, controlling the sale. Yeah. I remember before I became a Christian, I was really good at what I did. And when I first started working at GameStop, I was back in like 2005. My manager said, okay, because I wasn't temporary, but I was just a game advisor. I worked like 1 shift a week. I came in and he gave me these expectations. I want you to get 5 reservations for whatever, the whole GameStop shebang. And people would come in and I would focus on this result. And I'm like, bribing people to get those results. If you reserve this game, I'll give you this. And I got a poster here. I'll give you this as long as you put $5 down on it. And I would work the numbers to get that. And it's like not really helping the customer. And then like that was good as far as numbers were concerned, but did it actually make the sale? We just had a bunch of product that we would order because of those reservations. The stuff would come in and the customers wouldn't buy it. So it actually ended up costing us money focusing on the result.
Yeah.
But then, when I guess for all intents and purposes, you introduced me to Jesus saying, this is what Jesus is. This is who he is. This is what love is. I started looking at my professional GameStop career, my paid career. I started thinking about what actually worked and what actually was consistently producing fruit. And it's everything that fell in line with 1 Corinthians 13, love, and it's like not insisting on my own way. Oh, so GameStop wants me to insist on getting 5 reservations every hour during Christmas, but I'm not supposed to insist on my own. So how do I do that through invitation? It really challenged me to look at my interactions with people from a position of love, which is serving them. That's what ministry is. Ministry is Hebrew for love, I'm sorry. Ministry is Hebrew for service. To a degree. Look it up yourself. To a degree. But then, I just started thinking, okay, well, what does this mean for my relationships with people? And this is what helped me with the confidence thing that you were talking about at the onset of this whole conversation. When people would come and aggress the processes, and, I was the only thing in front of them, so of course it would manifest in them getting angry at me. It's like, well, how do I, if I'm in a place where I'm running this business and this business is to provide them with something they need, but also to pay myself and the employees, how do I make this mutually beneficial without taking advantage of them? And the way that Eric positioned things was like, look, here's your situation. Here are my limitations. Let's find some way to figure this out. And that's why not saying I can't is such a big deal. And instead say, well, how can I? Okay, well, so the policy says when you bring in a new game system that's been open that you've purchased, the policy doesn't allow us to return it. But here's what we can do. Let's explore some options. And when people saw that I was actively trying to help them within those limitations, and I knew that I had that stronghold behind me of those limitations where it's like, this is just off limits. I can't even go there. It's like, well, I'm on your side. Let's figure out what we can do. Some of these might suck, but I can prevent you from, to the best of my ability, from entering in this place where it sucks this much again, and building that trust with people. And that's kind of what we do with Jesus too. It's like, there's so much hurt out there, but our product is Jesus. It's like, our product is love, and all these people come to us saying, well, I want to return this because our relationship is contractual and I feel like you've reneged on your part of the contract. So I want this. Well, hold up. I'm going to love you regardless of what you bring to the table. But, let's figure this out together.
Yeah. So, yeah. I like the perspective shift of how, like instead of I can't do this, here's the things that I can do. And you've talked to me about that before, and that has been helpful in the first time that you brought that up, and it's probably stuck with me to a degree. I can't tell you all the places it has because I'm now in a new place, and I'm trying to figure out what I can and cannot do in New Balance. But at the very least, one of the things I'm happy about with New Balance is just how part of their sales process is permission. And until you have permission,
consent culture.
Yeah, consent. You don't just go selling things and push the customer away.
Yeah.
You're there to sell if they want you to. And me and my coworkers will say to customers, we're not here to sell shoes. We're here to find solutions. But it's true. I don't care if you walk out with $1,000 worth of product or zero, as long as you came in and we were able to show you what's available to you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it. I just think, and this is my own personal preference. Yeah, after being out of retail forever, I just look back at all the posture jargon that I engaged in. Just, where it's like, oh, okay, this is a copy paste response, which makes sense because you say it so frequently. I'm not here to sell shoes. I'm here to provide solutions. It's like, you're not wrong. But I'm thinking, like, would I ever say that in a personal relationship of mine, like to my wife? Ariane, I'm not here to sell you on this concept. I'm in this relationship to figure out solutions.
There are things that we repetitively say.
I know. I'm just. It's just weird to me not being in retail for so long now.
Like, it can be something that's said inauthentically, but part of why we say that is because it's funny. Because we know it sounds salesman-y, and so we like to laugh at that statement. But part of why we say it is because it's true that we are holding ourselves back from trying to sell you something to just simply we're trying to make you aware of what we have so that if we can help you, here's how we can help, and if we can't, here are other resources that are available to you so that you walk out smarter than you did before you came in.
We went to the Ale House. Do you know what that is? By
yes.
Haynes Mall. We went there the other night.
You're talking about Carolina Ale?
Yeah, Carolina Ale House.
Yeah.
And we sat there. And we sat there for 30 minutes without getting a server coming to the table.
That's a long time.
And the hostess comes up and she's like, "Has anybody helped you yet?" And we were like, "No," and she just walks off. She doesn't say, "Okay, I'll get some." She just walks off. And then another 15 minutes goes by, and this guy comes up to the table, and he's like, "Hey, my name is so-and-so. Would you like any drinks or appetizers tonight?" And I tell him, Ariane mentions what she wants, and then I mention, I'll take this in a Yingling, and he's like, "That's my favorite drink." And he disappears. Another 15 minutes goes by. We still don't have drinks or anything. And I'm like, "We've been here for an hour. You've taken our order. There's no beverages at the table."
What is happening?
And then another guy, one of the managers, I assume, comes to their meals, and he's like, "Who had the blah, blah, blah? Who had the..." And we don't have silverware. We don't have any drinks. We don't have anything.
What is happening?
And, we tell him, "Oh, Ariane ordered a margarita and a water. I had a Yingling and a water." And then we finally get that. We have our meal. We're sitting there eating. And then our waiter shows back up. He says, "Is everything..." what was it? He said something that was very rehearsed. He said, "Is everything to your
satisfaction?
Is everything to your satisfaction? Would you like the dessert menu?" And it's like, so the whole reason I bring this up, it's like, it's obvious that he was training, and I had grace for that. It's like there were a bunch of people that weren't helping him. They're just sitting in the back and just like in booths cutting up. And it's like he had 6 tables, and I think he was a little bit slow. And it's like, oh man, that I can feel what he's feeling. There's these expectations to, pitch appetizers and pitch desserts and, would you like another beer and stuff. But it was devoid of personality because he was just trying to get the fundamentals down. And we'd gone there the week prior, and there was a young lady that had helped us, and we just go up to the table. She's like, all right, what do you guys want? Okay, you want this? You want this? You want tall or short? Okay, cool. And she, drink, everything goes off without a hitch, and she had a lot more personality. It's like, okay, she knows what she's doing because she's not actively trying. She's just like, here you go. I know the ins and out. Oh, did you want another? And she noticed that we finished one of our beverages before the food came. She was like, hey, do you want another one? Okay, so you're paying attention. It's not just a script that you're reading. And that was cool. I much prefer those types of interactions where I'm not being sold, but somebody pays attention and they pick up on the social cues. Now, granted, the guy, I assume he was slow to some degree, or on the spectrum to some degree. And he was already stressed because it was obvious that he was new. And I get that. But man, like whenever I go into a retail store and I know that somebody's just handing me a script, it just, can I just get a different employee, please? Yeah, I want them to get the experience, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we hire if you have experience. Well, how is anybody supposed to get experience? Because people only want people who are experienced. But
you can't get experience otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah. In this situation of just not being so rehearsed, I just think it takes, going through the fire, like all the things that I learned, and especially with my boss, Eric, learning to stand up in confidence about here's why I made this decision. I only got there because I failed a crap ton. And I said all the wrong things. I got yelled at a lot by my bosses. It sucked. I got yelled at by a lot of people. I mean, retail sucks in general.
It's hard. It's hard. It's like this weird thing where it can be the best and the worst at the same time, because you have the flexibility generally, and you have sometimes better pay than you can find in other places. Mm-hmm. But then it also kind of feels like you get soft locked into one area.
Yeah.
It's really hard to go up or down.
Games.
Right. And so it's just like, how do you break out of this? Like, I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, all that to say, guys, I do want to say, and kind of retconning this, I really enjoyed the years I spent at GameStop, but a lot of relationships,
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, even though it sucked to a degree. And in hindsight, I would have done a lot of things differently, but I don't know. I learned a lot about myself going through the fire of retail. I think kind of like how England, I think it's England. Everybody has to serve in the military for 2 years, like all their population.
Israel.
Is it Israel?
Israel, you have to. I don't know about England, but Israel for sure.
Yeah, Israel. I think everybody in America should have to work retail for at least 6 months.
So they can get the idea of what it takes.
Or be a server at a restaurant, because people have really bad attitudes at restaurants.
Yes, they do.
Me included sometimes.
Yeah,
I try not to.
I try not to as well. I think I'm pretty good at it. I don't know if I've really ever had an attitude there, but still, I don't know. I'm still trying to navigate and figure out how not to let angry customers prevent me from doing my job without like stooping to their demands when I need to uphold the needs of the company, because you just have to navigate that between the wants and needs of the customer and the wants and needs of the company itself.
I need to read you something.
Oh.
Michael Cruz sent me. We were talking about this.
Oh, fun times.
Matthew 9. Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came to not call the righteous, but sinners. I think about, especially as a Christian, working in a place like GameStop or a place like the Carolina Ale House or the Walking Company or New Balance. It's like people are coming there for some specific reasons to have their needs met. And God has placed me in this place right now to serve them. And it's like, he came to call sinners, not the righteous. And these people are really broken, especially if they're coming in with pissy attitudes. And it's like, they came in here angry. They're not angry at me. They came in with that. And I just have to maintain that position, because it's like, I'm not here to defend myself. I'm not here to take crap. And honestly, I'm not here to I'm here to fulfill a need in their life. Right. And oddly, like my profession now, I'm a life and relationship coach because of all the stuff that I discovered about myself at GameStop. I discovered that 98% of my job was talking to people about life and, just making them feel seen and heard and valuable, not selling games. And yet I was really good at what I did as far as the results. Mm-hmm. Must be why. Something about Jesus. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I've really hit your level of sales. I don't know if that's just a me thing or just a God thing or both.
I don't think it's comparable.
Yeah, because I think the big difference that I've had all this time though, since you've known me, is I've always had some community I'm developing in the background that I'm trying to maintain some of that energy for. There's some things I could do at New Balance, and deep down I want to do them, just because I want to be able to move up in New Balance and to find more security of a job, and I enjoy it enough. But I want to make sure, honestly, what we're doing here in thoughtraid, this is more important to me than New Balance can be, or the Walking Company, or Sears, or Brookstone, or GameStop, or Bounce You, all the way back. I've been holding out for a hero this whole time, for UGN and for thoughtraid to get to a place where I can make this my full-time focus. I still want to do that, and it's always been there in the background every time I try to go to 110% with any company that I've worked for. So that probably is a reason why, when you've been doing what you did with GameStop at the time, you didn't have these other things in the background that I do. You had dreams and goals that you're headed towards.
We had that small group that we were putting together.
Right. But I
also had a marriage.
Right. That's true. But
I also had friendships.
But at the same time, I don't know if you had a company at that time. So that takes effort and focus and energy for, to be able to get up here even after having a long shift and still provide something for you guys to learn or enjoy or just be entertained by. I think that's one of the biggest shifts we've made now in thoughtraid, is we're focusing a little bit more on entertaining, just being community development and just having fun together, rather than just I have to give you something so that you can grow by hearing our experience. You'll still get that, but that's no longer the focus. The focus now is we're here to have fun together. We're here to grow together and to enjoy each other, which is so much more easier on my levels of energy while trying to also work a full-time job at New Balance.
So I'm going to say this piece, and this will just tie it up for me. I remember we were on a conference call with GameStop, and we had this corporate mandate. I forget exactly what it was. They were always bringing out new acronyms, like GET, Greet, Engage, Think, SMART Goal, all this stuff. There's this thing that they were trying to introduce where they wanted us to stand at the front of the store and give people a bag as they came in, or a flyer, or there's some process. And they were like, this is what's going to improve sales. We want everybody doing this. Please do this. And I smelled it from a mile. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I didn't tell my boss I wasn't going to do that. I just didn't do it. And then the next week on the conference call, before the conference call, we had a meeting, but everybody had status calls, one-on-ones. And he's like, I noticed you weren't doing this, and the feedback that you posted in interface, he's like, you didn't get feedback, you didn't do this, and you weren't doing it, and that's not okay. But on the conference call, hey Tim, why was your store number 1 last week? Why were you the only store to beat sales? And why? I'm like, because I didn't do what you guys were trying to force me to do, But it's that finesse of what was it that you just said? I was going somewhere with this.
I was previously talking about how we've shifted away from here we have to provide you something, and now we are here to have fun, we're starting to entertain more. And
Gotcha. There was this book that I was reading called The Intuitive Compass, and it had a compass, north, south, east, west, and one side said results, and the other side, I believe, said play or innovation. No, it's logic and play, and results and innovation. And I remember when all this stuff happened, this situation I was just talking about, I was telling my staff, hey, I don't want you doing that, but I do want to use these to some degree. So when you're with customers, and they have stuff, you say, hey, here, let me hold this for you. And, put it in the bag and hand them the bag. Here you go. If you saw somebody that needed it, or just like offer to carry it for them or keep it up at the registers. And we were still actioning it and selling the bags or whatever. But it was a fun way to kind of challenge my staff to engage in a way that employ their creative process. And just thinking about in our own life, like we've had so many conversations over the past several weeks with some of you guys who are watching, who've played games with us after the fact about pretty deep situations, you know. And if there are 3 or 4 of you specifically that I'm talking about, so if you see this, I'm talking about you. But that came through just playing, not, hey, here's
this well-polished thing that you may or may not need. I don't know.
How to save your relationships. 3 easy steps. Shut up. You know.
I mean, we'll still do that, but it's just no longer the main focus.
Yeah,
I think that's
finesse.
better. I think now we're getting to a better place where we're able to engage you guys better. We're able to spend time hanging out with you and develop the friendship and the relationship and the trust. So that way, when we do have things to say, like, you know, it has more meaning to it.
Yeah.
And I brought all that up because previously I was talking about how I've been saving energy for this throughout every job that I've been doing for the past decade. Or just about a decade. It's been in mind, I want to save energy for UGN. I want to save energy for thoughtraid. And so, like, when I see the sales that you are capable of and how your store was number 1, all that kind of stuff, and I desperately wanted to do that kind of stuff, but couldn't obtain it.
I remember what I was going to say.
Oh.
It's a verse, guys. It's a Bible verse.
Oh.
It's that one where
let's have it.
Jesus, or I think it was Paul or Jesus. I always get this one mixed up, but talking about the Lord, he cuts back every branch that does not produce fruit, or he cuts away every branch that does not produce fruit, and he prunes back the ones that do. Mm-hmm. And so much of my career in my previous field was cutting off branches that don't produce fruit. We're not doing that process. We're going to prune back what does work. We're going to focus there, which is what we've been doing here about playing video, because we realize we're not a lay counselor and a life coach that play video games. We're gamers who love to talk to people about life.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you also like games and you want to talk about life, join us on Discord and hang out with us.
The link to that is below.
Yeah.
This is the part where we sell to you.
So like and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
You got to get 3 no's, Brandon.
Oh boy. Why? That's just
numbers, Brandon. It's not about relationship. It's all about numbers. You got to get in that algorithm, Brandon. We have to post content 5 days a week, Brandon.
Oh my God. Anyways. But no, it is true. This is the part where we do want to let you guys know the important stuff that YouTube keeps aware of. But also, to be fair, it is a way of just, hey, we want you to join us because we do enjoy having people talk to us. And so, if you've liked the stream, make sure to like it and hit the subscribe button with the bell notification so you know when we go live again. That is just a part of the nature of doing things on YouTube and or Facebook. And it was something that was actually recommended to me. It was not something that came natural. If you'd watched the previous videos we did for like the first year of doing thoughtraid, I don't think we ever closed with a, hey, like, comment, and subscribe.
And it's so weird too, because it's like,
it
if
really
people
is.
like it, they would hit the like button.
Right.
And if they don't like it, they won't.
But a very professional person who's been doing this longer than we have is like, that's an important thing to do. Mm-hmm. So we've just been kind of integrating that into our part, just they call it a call to action, just being upfront and honest. It just helps. So I'm throwing that out there, but it's not coming from an inauthentic place, because I do, if we can help you, if we can hang out with you and stuff, that is something that I do want to do. So it's coming from this is something that we have to do, maybe, depending, I don't know, but also want to do. Anyways, I'm done explaining stuff.
With that said,
we broadcast every week on Monday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be live again this Friday with some more gaming, probably going to do some Overwatch, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you guys again soon.
Yeah, I can see far away from where I've been. He says, I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. show. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus, you're alive.